Hey, what's up, guys? Brandon Emmett here. I'm your Valdez Silver Salmon Fishing Page admin and a salmon fishing aficionado. I'm going to be going over some gear with you guys today that I've had good luck with down in Valdez. I'll hopefully help you guys catch a few more fish. So we're going to work backwards. I'm going to start out today with the rod and reel combo. This is a closed face reel that my brother Dan got me as a birthday present. So this is a Shimano 201HG, and this is a Bass Pro Shops Jimmy Morris Carbon Light 2.0. It's a bass rod, 7-foot, heavy, fast action. You can see the tip doesn't flex a whole lot when I shake it. It's really sensitive, and it's not too terribly long. Good for casting when you're combat fishing there on the rocks. It's got good sensitivity, and it's got enough strength to haul in a silver. So this has become my favorite setup. I got a Vibrax spinner on here, number 5. I'll go into lure selection in a later video, but I wanted to go over a line and a couple knots with you guys. And the setup I use, if you look close, you can see I've got 2 different kinds of line on here. So on the spool, I've got 30-pound P-line braid, and then my leader that I have attached to the lure, I've got 25-pound test P-line fluorocarbon. And I'm going to go into some of the strengths and weaknesses of both and explain the reason why I use a braided main line and a fluorocarbon leader. So first and foremost, braid is just ultra strong for its diameter. So it doesn't stretch, and it doesn't have any memory. It means that you can spool it up, and it doesn't get any line twists or what in it. So you can cast it really far, and it's just unmatched for how strong it is. The downside to braid, though, is it's not very abrasion resistant. And as we know, salmon have sharp teeth and gill rakers. The side of the boat or a sharp rock is inevitable when you're landing fish, especially on those hot and heavy days. And so if you're using just braided line, you can end up getting a lot of abrasion. You've got to change out your knot a lot, and a lot of times if you get up against a sharp rock or get tangled up with another fisherman while you're bringing a fish in, it has a tendency to fray and then break. So then we'll go our leader material here. And so this is fluorocarbon, and fluorocarbon is my favorite leader material for one reason in particular, and that it is extremely abrasion resistant. So this is 25-pound test, and you can see how much thicker it is, how much more diameter it has for its breaking strength. It also has a decent amount of memory in it, but it makes incredible leader material because it holds a knot well, and it just doesn't fray like braided lines do. And in fact, it's even more abrasion resistant than a monofilament. And so I've found that the combination of a braided main line that gives you your strength and no stretch, so you can really feel what's going on with your lure, and having a fluorocarbon leader that doesn't get abraded and has just a bit of stretch, gives you that perfect balance between strength, abrasion resistance, versatility, and really helps you land some more fish. So now I'm going to go into the knot that I use to attach the two. Again, as you can see here, I've got my reel spooled up with the braid, and then I've got my terminal tackle attached with the fluorocarbon. I'll come down and I'll show you where's that knot at. Okay, and here you guys can see the knot. Camera on this phone's not the best. You can actually see the end of the knot where the braid is a little frayed. And so, and this knot, this is called a uni to uni knot, and it's great for an application like this because it goes through the guides really well. So when you're reeling it up, you're reeling it against the fluorocarbon side of the knot. But then when you're casting it out, you're casting it against this soft braided side of the knot, and it goes through the guides real easily. So I like to use a bit of a longer leader. So this is, take this off of here. So yeah, this leader is about six feet long, maybe closer to 7 feet. I usually measure my leader just by grabbing it between my hands, stretch my arms out, and cut it off. And so if you start with a little bit longer leader, you know, it's a little bit cumbersome on your first handful of casts of the day. But as you change out your knot and your leader shortens, it gets easier and easier to cast and retrieve because you're not going through as many of the guides. And then I'll fish this leader down till it gets to, you know, about 2 feet long before I feel that it's, you know, going to start giving me the possibility of getting the braid into the rocks, or their teeth are wrapped around the fish or whatever. So let us begin again. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how I do this. Okay, so this is your 30-pound P-line braid. You can use Power Pro or Tough Line. So I've got one here. So this is a combination that I use as well. So this is 50-pound Power Pro and 30-pound P-line. I believe this is mono. And a little bit about line selection before I tie the knot. I really like P-line. I like Power Pro. And another couple brands that I've found are pretty good are both Maxima and good old Berkeley Trilene. It's hard to go wrong with that. So we'll get into how to tie the knot. So this is your braid. This is, you know, would be coming from your reel. And then here's your fluorocarbon leader. So I'm going to stretch out a length of leader. Zip it off. I always carry a pair of snippers. Keep those handy. So again, anywhere from 5 to 7 feet is good. Snip that off. Okay, so how to tie the knot. I generally will tie the smaller diameter braid around the higher diameter mono to begin with. And so the uni to uni knot is just like it says, 2 uni knots tied to one another. So to tie this knot, let me see if I can get, you know, the backdrop. I really need better lighting, but for the first video, this is what you guys get. So you're going to take the lines and you're going to cross them over themselves like this. Then you're going to take your braid, you're going to make a loop in your braid, just like so. And you are going to hold that next to your leader. So once you've made the loop, then you're going to take your tag end and you're going to loop it around your mono 7 times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and it'll look like this. Dun, dun, dun. So then you'll take your tag end and your main line, wet it. The rain will do this for you in Valdez, but if it's dry, use a little saliva and you pull it tight on there like that. So now it slides. Now we're going to do that on the fluorocarbon end. So I like to slide it up a little ways so it doesn't slip off. It can be a pain in the butt if you don't leave enough tag end. Inevitably, you'll end up pulling your main line and it'll slip off. You have to redo it. And line is relatively cheap, especially when the fish are biting. So I always give myself a lot to work with. Trick, you want to try to keep your main line tight. So I'll generally pull out enough to make the knot, and I'll engage the reel, and that way you can pull against it, because you don't want the mono or the fluorocarbon to bind up on your line. So okay, so we're going to make our loop again like we did. Looks like this. And this one, you wrap around 4 or 5 times. If you get too many loops on a fluorocarbon leader, it tends to bind. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we got that. It looks like this. I'm going to wet it. So one thing, you got to make sure that your knot is wet when you're working with fluorocarbon, because it can overheat and it will weaken the knot. So I'm just going to work both of these down, again keeping my main line and my tag straight. Okay, and then once you got it tied like that, you pull the two apart. See that? See if it'll focus on it. And then work about cinching it up. My dentist told me not to use my teeth, but I've done it forever. It works really good. Okay, and then once you've got them, you can pull that tight, and so now you've got a secure connection from your main line to your leader, and you've got the added abrasion resistance to go with it. So the AI assistant says that this knot is 67% of the breaking strength. I've found it to be stronger than that if you tie it right. I've never really had issues with this breaking off. But again, I use fairly strong line for the fish. Approximately 2 times the fish's weight is a good rule of thumb. You're fishing for 15-pound fish, you got 30-pound line, you're going to be pretty good. We go up, say we're fishing for bigger fish, or you got a guy who's getting into the rocks all the time, then you could go up in weight. So last thing I do, before I get too sidetracked here, is you want to trim off your tag ends. And so I like to leave it just a little bit more tag right when I first make the knot, because that first fish, it'll seem like it'll tighten the knot more than you did. But as soon as you catch that first fish, if you got any extra tag, that knot's going to be set, and you can trim it pretty much all the way down. Okay, here we go. And there it is, guys. Uni to uni, tight lines.